The air in the hospital room was sterile and cold, but the pain in Eliza's chest burned hotter than the contractions tearing through her body. Sweat clung to her forehead as the monitors beeped steadily beside her, echoing the rhythm of her heartbeat, a rapid, desperate sound. She gripped the bed rails with trembling hands and turned her head toward the empty space beside her. He was supposed to be there. Jason. Her boyfriend of 3 years. The man who had once pressed his lips to her belly and whispered promises to their unborn child. The man who told her he'd love her through anything. He left. Not with an excuse. Not with an apology. Just silence. 1 hour before labor started, he walked out of the hospital room, claiming he needed some air. That air must have carried him far, because he never came back. His phone was off. His family had no idea where he was. And Eliza, she was left to face the most terrifying moment of her life alone. Alone, except for the kind-hearted nurse named Mandy who never left her side. And the stranger who would change everything. Eliza bit down on her lip to keep from crying. Her body was exhausted. Her soul even more so. The doctor's voice cut through the haze. "You're almost there, Eliza. One more push." With a scream that tore from a place deeper than pain, deeper than sorrow, she gave everything she had. And then. The room shifted. The pain gave way to a cry. A baby's cry. Her baby. A nurse gently wrapped the small, wailing bundle in a blanket and placed her daughter on Eliza's chest. And in that moment, just that moment, everything else disappeared. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she cradled the child. "Hi, baby girl," she whispered. "I'm your mommy." No father stood by. No hand held hers. But Eliza made a silent vow, "I will be enough for you." The next day, her hospital room was quiet, save for the occasional coo from her newborn. Eliza sat upright, her hair messy, her eyes tired, but her arms full of love. Mandy, the nurse, stepped in with a strange expression. "Eliza, you have a visitor." "A visitor?" She blinked. "I don't. I mean, no one's supposed to." Before she could finish, the door opened, and in stepped a tall man in a tailored navy suit. His dark hair was slightly tousled from the wind outside, and a bouquet of white lilies was in his hands. "I'm sorry to intrude," he said, his voice smooth but unsure. "You don't know me, but I think I know you." Eliza froze. "Excuse me?" "My name is Ethan Monroe," he said, placing the flowers on the windowsill. "My sister, she was in the maternity ward 2 doors down. She delivered twins yesterday." Eliza gave a confused nod, her hand instinctively wrapping around her daughter. "I walked past your room," he continued, and overheard the nurses. They were talking about a woman who gave birth alone. About how the father walked out. Her cheeks flushed, humiliation tightening her chest. "I'm sorry if I'm being inappropriate," Ethan said quickly. I couldn't stop thinking about you. About how brave you must be. And I wanted to, well, I brought you these." He motioned to the flowers, then reached into his coat and pulled out a folded check. Eliza's eyes widened. "No, please don't. I'm not trying to offend you," he said gently. I know how hard it is. My mother raised me by herself. She worked 3 jobs just to keep the lights on. I watched her struggle, and I always told myself, someday, if I can help someone like her, I will." Eliza looked at him for a long moment. "I don't need money." "I know," Ethan said, nodding. "But maybe you need a break. Or a little peace. Just, let me help. Not as a millionaire. As a human being." Her lips quivered. "Thank you." What started as a one-time gesture turned into something much more. Over the next few weeks, Ethan returned. At first with small things. A crib, some baby formula, diapers. Then with time, he'd sit by Eliza's side in the NICU when the baby had a minor infection. He brought coffee, listened to her vent about sleepless nights, and even held the baby when her arms were too tired. He never pushed. Never expected anything in return. But he was always there. And in the still, quiet moments of her weary new life, Eliza began to wonder, why did a man with everything show up for a woman who had been left with nothing? Ethan Monroe was no ordinary man. At 35, he was one of the youngest tech entrepreneurs in the country to lead a $500 million company. His face had graced the covers of Forbes and GQ, but he rarely gave interviews. Instead, he poured his energy into innovation, charitable foundations, and quietly paying off hospital bills for families he'd never meet. When asked about his success, he always credited his mother. "She was the first investor in my dream," he once said. Even if all she had to give was belief. But despite his success, Ethan had lived a quiet, almost lonely life. Until Eliza. Until the girl with trembling hands and fire in her spirit. One evening, Eliza invited him over to her small apartment. It was nothing grand, just a rented one-bedroom with peeling paint, but it smelled like home. Baby lotion, laundry detergent, and something cinnamon she had baked as a thank you. They sat on the floor beside the bassinet. "I never imagined this life," Eliza said, brushing her baby's hair. "I thought I'd have a family. A partner. A plan." Ethan looked at her softly. "You have a family. And plans change." "I still can't believe he left," she admitted. "Jason. He just vanished. Like I didn't matter. Like she didn't." "You matter," Ethan said, his voice firm. "And she matters more than he'll ever understand." There was a pause. "I didn't just bring you flowers, Eliza," he added. "I brought my respect. And admiration." She blinked, her breath catching. "And maybe something else I haven't figured out how to say yet." Months passed. Seasons shifted. And the bond between them grew. Eliza found work from home doing digital marketing. Ethan helped build her website, watched the baby during Zoom calls, and made them dinner when her energy ran out. The media began to notice, Ethan Monroe seen with mysterious woman and baby, but he refused to comment. "Let them wonder," he smiled. One day, Eliza asked, "Why me?" "Because you loved her when it wasn't easy," Ethan answered. "Because you kept going when you could have given up. That's the kind of strength that deserves the world." One rainy afternoon, Ethan stood at the door of her apartment with a nervous smile. "Can I take you both somewhere?" He drove them to a quiet garden at the edge of the city. There, under an arch of lilacs, was a table with candles and a basket of their favorite food. "Is this a picnic?" Eliza laughed. "It's a promise," Ethan said. He knelt, holding a simple ring with a sapphire stone. "Eliza, I know this isn't the life you imagined. But maybe this is the life meant for you. A life where love shows up. Where you're never left behind. Where someone stays, not because they have to, but because they want nothing more than to walk beside you. You changed my world without even trying. Will you marry me?" Tears filled her eyes. The baby gurgled happily in her arms. Eliza whispered, "Yes." They married in a small ceremony, just close friends, Mandy the nurse, and a few co-workers from the hospital. And when Ethan lifted Eliza's veil, he whispered, "I didn't save you. You saved me." 1 year later. Eliza held her daughter, now walking, giggling, saying, "Dada," to the man who loved her like his own. Their family wasn't traditional. It wasn't planned. But it was beautiful. And in every late-night feeding, every dance in the kitchen, every laugh across the breakfast table, Eliza felt something she never thought she'd feel again. Peace. Not because she found a rich man. But because she found a man rich in soul. And when strangers asked how they met, Ethan would smile and say, I walked into a hospital to meet my nephews. And walked out having met my whole future. The world may try to define you by who leaves. But the ones who stay, they're the ones who build your forever.